Hello, everyone. We're Chris Carter and Brian Batko reporting here from Friday Night Lights in Latrobe, Pennsylvania for the Steelers training camp practice. As always, this show is brought to you by Savinas Kane and Gallucci, mesothelioma and asbestos lawyers for over 85 years of experience. Call them today for a free consultation. We're giving you a recap of practice here. Normally it's Jerry, Ray, and Brian, but I'm filling in here with Brian. And Brian, got to say, it was a lively practice, highlighted again by a physical backs on backers.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, there's, as we're taping this, about 20 minutes left, but I think the biggest fireworks of the night are behind us. And yeah, I mean, it's always here in the corner of the one end zone at Latrobe Memorial Stadium where the spittle is flying, tempers are flaring. And this is, my sixth year on the beat, but only my second time covering this particular practice. I can't imagine it's ever been much more spirited than what we got today. Coaches yelling at each other, players yelling at each other, all in the name of competition. They hugged it up at the end, everybody shaking hands. But man, while they were in the heat of battle, such as it is, in that one-on-one drill where an inside or outside linebacker is coming downhill against a running back or a tight end trying to hold his ground, that was pretty fun to watch, pretty physical, maybe even bordering on barbaric at times. And there was even a scrum or two reminiscent of that practice a couple days ago where it went a bit beyond just your typical pushing and shoving in a football drill.
Absolutely. I actually think some of that carried over
Yeah.
from that practice. And Landon Roberts calling out Jalen Warren at one point. First rep bulldozes Warren backwards. I thought he won that rep. But then the second rep, Warren stands up to him and talks a lot of it afterwards. And Roberts falls down and Warren kind of stands over top of him. And then that led to the running backs joining him. Najee Harris pumping it up. And then the linebackers came, even Alex Highsmith getting in the middle of it. There was a lot of talking trash, a lot of spirit, like you said. Najee Harris also went against Patrick Queen twice, dominated him both times. In fact, one time pancaked him and then stood over top of him to let him know. I thought the running backs once again showed they are some of the most physical pass protectors in the country.
Yeah, Patrick Queen didn't like that. I don't
He
think he
did not.
Landon Roberts necessarily
He
liked
did
the
not.
reaction from his offensive teammates. And yeah, I mean, we talked about it after yesterday's practice as well, that it was getting chippy in an unpadded practice. And Najee Harris was talking a lot of trash again about how when the pads were not on, the defense was getting their shots in. When the pads came on, they weren't able to stand up to the physicality of the offense, at least in his view. So that was pretty interesting to see from both sides, no doubt about it. You just hope these guys, again, are not letting that carry over into anything beyond when they're actually going against each other to try to win a rep. Patrick Queen finds himself in seemingly every little skirmish thus far since he came over from Baltimore. Old habits die hard, I guess, Chris. And another guy, I mean, it's pretty routine to give him his props in this drill, but Darnell Washington is just his length neutralizes pretty much everybody who comes his way. Tonight it was Alex Highsmith for the most part.
Yeah, him and Alex Highsmith go back and forth a few times. Like Alex won a rep, but then Darnell won another two. Nick Herbig also I thought looked good. Nick Herbig was actually interesting because he lost his first rep to Darnell
Yeah, he
Washington.
tried to spin into him, and he just kind of ended up on the ground because
Hmm.
of how, as Denzel Martin, the outside linebackers coach, yelled at Darnell Washington early in the drill. Come on, you're supposed to be the wall out here. So they expect that out of the big 6'6", 260 some pound tight end.
Absolutely. So lots of fireworks with backs on backers. We could keep going over that, but I have to switch back to the offense in 7 shots. I think this was our first sweep
I don't think
of.
I've ever seen a shutout.
It was a 7-0 offensive win and Justin Fields very sharp throwing the ball. Kyle Allen looked sharp. They ran the ball on him. This was offensive dominance, and I know it's just training camp, but I feel like there's some momentum picking up for this offense that they're starting to coalesce and come together, Brian.
Yeah, two of the Justin Fields touchdown passes were to George Pickens, who else? One in the shallow part of the end zone where he just sealed off DeMonte Casey. The second one, again, in the back of the end zone where he rose up over Joey Porter Jr. Also had an easy one, quick to the left to Pat Fryermuth. And then, yeah, Najee Harris bowling in behind a surprise first teamer at times, mainly because of the function of the position he plays. But Jack Coletto
Yeah.
in there in the I formation as the fullback in front of Najee Harris. James Daniels was helping pave the way and across the goal line for those guys, too. So, yeah, Mike Tomlin actually brought the starters back out for the seventh and final rep, not to decide it, but just to try to get the defense on the board, and they couldn't do it. Offense, did it again. So Justin Fields, I think, having another nice practice here, and in this one with the bright lights of Latrobe Memorial Stadium and 12,238 people in the crowd to watch him.
Russell Wilson still just dressing in pads, coming out, doing warm-up things. Even took a snap of 11 on 11 that was just a handoff,
Yeah,
and then came
he only goes in for the team run period
and then
where
he comes right out.
the only options are to hand it off or maybe play action, but they're not even letting Russ run a play action and throw. So he's still in that holding pattern with the cap.
Brian, I know this is kind of a question we kind of ask ourselves after each practice, but how much longer do you think this persists of Justin Fields getting to run the first team? I mean, we are now a week away from the first preseason game.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think I'd predict Russ to play in the game
Yeah.
at this point. Just not a lot of reps and behind him. We'll see how many are in front of him. Mike Tomlin continues to not seem all that concerned about it, but yeah, every day you're starting to lose time now. It feels like as you get into August, and then you're losing potential exhibition opportunities to see your likely QB1. So yeah, I mean it continues to kind of loom over all proceedings here with this Steelers team, but Justin Fields is continuing to seize the opportunity. You and I were just talking during another live period, which was basically a pass rush drill,
Mm-hmm.
a pass under pressure drill, as the Steelers call it. So the defense is coming blitzing every time.
Right.
Yeah, a couple of the pocket's going to collapse. You're not going to be able to do much with it. But there was one where he kind of saw right away his hot read, George Pickens, down the seam, hit him on a slant. That's the kind of going through your progressions quickly, reading the defense, and instinctual play you want to see from Fields.
Absolutely. And I think that's been the biggest thing the Steelers want out of Justin Fields. They know he has a cannon arm. They know he has the athleticism to take off and run. But can he play composed within an offensive structure to take the smart reads, to understand where he's supposed to go with the football, and have the accuracy to consistently put it where his receivers need to make not only catch it, but get yards after the catch? And I'm seeing more and more of that every day we get through training camp from Justin Fields. I know that you and I think we were both in the camp of this is Russell Wilson's job. There's nothing really about it.
Right.
But I think Justin Fields is making a case that like Russell Wilson better come on strong quickly whenever he does get fully healthy. Otherwise, I think there might actually be some conversation. Not that Justin Fields will just automatically win it, but I think there'll be some conversations.
Yeah, I just think that was the kind of initial reaction from day one when Russell Wilson was not a full participant when we first found out about that cap injury. It was just kind of like, hey, the more that door does crack open for Fields, the more he does have opportunities to try to bust that down. So with each passing day that he plays well and Russell Wilson is limited, does it become more of a conversation in that room, or are the roles pretty clearly defined? I don't think Mike Tomlin's going to want to go there, as he said on report day, not painting himself into a corner. He's been doing it too long for any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe the target date for Russ is this upcoming week. Maybe it's after the first preseason game. Maybe they don't even have one. But right now, I'd say there's still not a whole lot of concern. But I guess just focus on the positives and the optimism growing with Fields each practice that he continues to look the part.
I think that that's certainly the part of the optimism. I think the offensive line also brings plenty of optimism. Troy Fautanu, even Dan Moore looking good. Broderick Jones also looking good. At first, I thought he wasn't practicing because I just saw him in sweatpants with shoulder pads, but no, he practiced. And the offensive line, they were able to run the ball a bit. Brian, I think there's a lot of things that continue to look very interesting about this offense, especially as the pads are going on. They got practice again throughout this weekend. We will be here in Latrobe for those practices and giving you these post-practice breakdowns as the weekend goes on.
To quote Najee Harris, I'm instigating. I'm done, but I'm instigating. That's how much junk he was talking tonight in Backs on Backers.
He was so relentless.
see.
At one point, Patrick Queen was just like, "Please shut up!" Like it was so fun to
These guys
watch.
need a break from each other, but they're not getting it till Monday.
They're not getting it till Monday, but we will be here. We don't get a break either. We'll be here Saturday and Sunday for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. From Chris Carter and Brian Batko, thanks for tuning in to the post-practice recap. We'll be here tomorrow with more from St. Vincent College. Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.